Hey everyone, Usman here. Welcome to the video. And today I'm going to be talking about a bunch of comic book writers and creators that have really created one of the best characters, storylines, etc., and who have really just been the creatives that have influenced the comic book industry as a whole. That's what I'm going to be going over today, as well as don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, as well as notification bell down there. Just wanting to let you guys know. So anyways, let's get into it. First, number 25, this is on a website called comicwatch.com, and this goes over a list. 25 is Jim Starlin, the master of the space opera. Jim Starlin took to comic book writing after serving in the armed forces as a photographer in Vietnam. Starlin crossed into the professional arena after selling 2 comic book storylines to DC Comics and signing on with Marvel for an assignment on The Amazing Spider-Man. As the article really goes down, this is kind of like a longer sort of like article that talks about his achievements as well as even just in general what his life was like before. But he also was responsible of actually making the famous comic book storyline Infinity Gauntlet, which is inspired by the 2018 movie called Avengers Infinity War. Part of it's taken from there, like different elements. That's pretty much where I know Jim Starlin from Infinity Gauntlet and, making Thanos like a crazy villain. So moving on. Oh yeah, it also mentions Avengers Infinity War. Matt Fraction. Matt Fraction has been called one of the most animated personalities in the comic industry. I suppose if you are recognized as one of the most prolific comic tweeters in the industry, fans line up all day long just for the chance to interact with the man behind many of our favorite heroes. Together with fellow writer Ed Brubaker, the two teamed up for runs on the Immortal Iron Fist and later Uncanny X-Men until departing the title in 2011. Soon after, Fraction was assigned to the Mighty Thor and the Invincible Iron Man. So yeah, he took part in comic book stories or that had like Iron Fist and Iron Man and Thor, like all those kind of things, as well as X-Men. I've heard about this guy. I think I've read some of his work, and it's really cool. I mean, all these different creators, like they have all this cool, like sort of these cool ideas that make me want more and more and more. So, that's pretty awesome. So, Jack Kirby, he's one of them. He's also, just a little side note, there's this movie that Marvel Studios is going to be making soon called The Eternals. It's going to be coming out probably sometime in 2020. These are characters that I don't really know about, but I heard that Jack Kirby has, he created these characters like a long time ago. He was part of it. Stan Lee was not part of it or anything like that. So it's basically like, they're like Greek gods or something in a way, but, in a superhero sense. Let's see if I can read some parts of the article. So, with the list too large to recount, highlights include the X-Men, Hulk, the Fantastic Four, the Inhumans, Galactus, Scarlet Witch, Silver Surfer, Magneto, Kazar, the Avengers, and many, many more. Though his most significant contributions were made under the helm of Marvel Comics, Kirby, like many others, also held positions at DC. So, as you could tell, he is a writer, creator that had connections to DC. He was also, working on those characters as well. Not always Marvel, even though I'm more like a guy who loves Marvel, and this is a Marvel-based YouTube channel. Like, he also went into DC. So, they had so many different ideas for so many different characters and so many other things that, they didn't want to just specifically stick with one comic book company. They wanted to go to another one. Jonathan Hickman, I've heard about him as well. Yeah, Brian Michael Bendis over here, but I think he's also in charge of creating the Ultimate Spider-Man run. It's like a comic book series, I think, that came out in the early 2000s talking about like Spider-Man, Peter Parker at age 15 and his exploits and being Spider-Man. So that's pretty cool. This is Jonathan Hickman. I know I just went into Brian Michael Bendis, but his name really stuck out when it came to this guy. But I feel like I sort of know a little bit about Jonathan Hickman. I think he was also part of Secret Wars, which was a comic book storyline I read about like months ago when I had Comixology. It's pretty good at Mark Waid. I'm just skipping around showing you guys everything. Mark Waid, he was also part of, Daredevil for Marvel Comics. I think he also wrote some new Daredevil runs as well that, I wanted to get, but couldn't because I didn't have the money, as well as I think I had to have like a good subscription on Comixology. Ed Brubaker, I think that was already mentioned. Like many, Ed Brubaker had to work his way up to the major leagues. As a writer and artist, Brubaker began working his craft for slave labor graphics, Caliber Comics, and Aeon Press, so other companies. Talks about, Brubaker crossed the threshold to Marvel Comics where he would pen Uncanny X-Men, Deadly Genesis, Daredevil, Secret Avengers, and but he's also part of the whole thing. I think he also, I think as I mentioned, also did Iron Fist. That's pretty awesome. I think he did it along with Matt Fraction. So I read his work, and of course Frank Miller. Frank Miller is, he did Daredevil Born Again. He's done more of he's done most of the Batman series. He's done like a lot of those different sort of storylines. But I've read Daredevil Born Again, a pretty good storyline. Daredevil Season 3, the Marvel Netflix show, is based off of Born Again. They took elements of, but mainly I also know him from doing DC with Batman and Daredevil. So that's pretty cool. 2 characters that don't really have superpowers. Pretty cool. Alan Davis, Fabian Nicieza. He also did Deadpool, so, you know, he was part of X-Men, X-Force, as you can see right here, and worked on the 90s with Rob Liefeld, who is a guy who mainly takes more creative input onto Deadpool than Fabian Nicieza. And the list goes on. Oh, Stan Lee, apparently he's the 12th best comic writer, even though for me, I think he's one of the best, as well as he was really ever the only comic book writer I ever wanted to meet out of all of these guys. No offense to the other guys, but mainly because of his influence in the comic book industry, as well as even just the stories he created, as well as, you know, his personality. Unfortunately, I couldn't meet him. Rest in peace, Stan Lee, but, you know, he's a great guy. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As I mentioned before early on in the video, like, subscribe, as well as, you know, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time.